We are the ones who don't know what we're fighting for. Give us a gun and send us all off to war. We are the ones who grow up in violent homes. We are the ones who don't know what's right or wrong. I know. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No more. We are the ones who don't know why we're losing score. Give them a badge so they could send us to the morgue. We are the ones who are scared to walk out the door. We are the ones who don't know what we're dying for. I know. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck. No. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No. Get off his fucking neck. The man makes you know he can't fucking breathe. The man makes you know We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck. No. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No.
Warning: this podcast features adult subject matter, adult language, and things not meant for children to hear. Viewer discretion is advised. You've been warned.
If it's Thursday, the ween is tomorrow. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of appropriate ages, to the latest episode of the I'm No Joe podcast, the show where every armchair quarterback could feel like Eddie Bravo. Today, as like most days, I've got a glorious panel here with me to break down all the shit talking and shenanigans, the fight announcements and fuckeries, and all the relevant things that have trickled out the MMA pipeline since we talked to you wonderful folks last. Before we get into all that fun and fuckery, first off, gentlemen, how you doing over there?
Well, it's not Friday yet, so we're not great. And based on what's coming on Saturday, even worse.
Right.
Thankful we got some fights, but I'm not thankful we got shit fights. Hopefully, Ween fucking helps us out here. Make sure everybody's got a hold of your wiener, because Ween approaches vastly quick. Yeah, I'm excited for that.
Irresponsible wienery.
Just ready to get these fights going, and hopefully this next week will be a little bit better.
Yeah, don't hold your breath, but we definitely do still have fights this week and next week. So yeah, don't get terribly excited because we are back at the Apex both this week and next week for a pair of rough hangover fight night cards. But that being said, we're going to kick things off here the way that we like to, with a little bit of news and recent events, fight announcements, fight cancellations, official rumor confirmations and denials, relevant things of that nature, things that are important to the folks to know about that have happened since we saw you wonderful folks last week. Excuse me. First and foremost, at the top of the list, it boggles my fucking brain how not only did we get this decision A so fucking quickly, but B so fucking wrong. The Australian Athletic Commission has officially already returned the decision on the Jake Matthews appeal from UFC Perth not that long ago, where the commentary crew and the truck made a point to show multiple times over and over and over and over that the fight was stopped with 4 seconds on the clock directly behind the referee, so you could tell clear as day when it was actually stopped. Later on, he said that he thought he had heard the bell, which he clearly had not, but multiple angles from the live broadcast show that the fight was stopped with 4 seconds left to go in the first and then restarted in between rounds, which you're not supposed to be able to do. I don't care what fucking country you're in. You're not supposed to be able to do that. And they did, and now the Australian Athletic Commission has upheld that decision, setting a horrible fucking precedent for bad refereeing going forward, because the ref had, excuse me, the referee did absolutely agree that he did make a mistake in stopping the fight prematurely, recognizing that there was time on the clock directly over his fucking shoulder for all the world to see in glorious 4K, but you know, the Australian Athletic Commission, for some fucking reason, decided that they were going to deny the appeal and that the fight stands as it was officially recorded. So I'm very curious to see how that's going to proceed going forward, because that's not a good sign any way you fucking look at it. But the fact that the Athletic Commission backed him up with live broadcast evidence to the contrary is a little disheartening, to say the least. So it's going to be interesting. I'm sure Andy Foster and the California State Athletic Commission will have something to say about it shortly after, because this was just revealed this afternoon, but still not good news, to say the least. Excuse me. Next one we've got here. A fight originally scheduled for this weekend and a fight originally scheduled for next weekend have both officially been scrapped, but the UFC did intelligently take the best of both worlds and put it together as a scrap to be had next week to make up for the lack of the two that we're getting. On one side, Felipe Lima is officially out next week against Daniel Marcos. He announced yesterday that he was injured, and 2 days ago, Muayev Gafurov, I believe is how he pronounces his name, was originally scheduled to fight Miles Johns this weekend, and Gafurov has pulled out undisclosed reasons, I say in air quotes for those of you just listening. So the UFC has decided, fuck it, let's make the best of both worlds, and they have put together Miles Johns versus Daniel Marcos to take place now next Saturday on the UFC Vegas. I believe it'll be 111 next weekend. I think it's 110 this weekend. So it sucks that we lost two fights, but at least in this situation, they were both in the same weight class, and the UFC was able to make the best out of both worlds and still keep one fight instead of losing 2-on-2 cards. So we'll see how that plays out. Short notice fights generally tend to be interesting. At least the last couple that we've seen have turned out to be pretty fucking interesting. And this isn't necessarily the shortest of notice fights, but considering both of these guys, as of 2 days ago, were both training to fight someone else and now both have different opponents, there is still a short notice aspect to it. So I'll be curious to see how this one plays out. These two scratched into one. I was not happy about it when we saw him go to BKFC. I'm even less fucking happy about it now that he has decided to put the gloves back on. We got official confirmation this week that on November 9th in Nashville at the Misfits boxing event, Andrei Arlovsky will be putting gloves back on to box influencer Kells. I'm not sure what's going on in Andrei Arlovsky's life at this point in time that has got him still doing all these circus act bullshit matches, but it's getting to be a little bit much, to say the least. Now, to his credit, at least he has won the last couple of these fucking circus sideshow freak matchups that they've had him in. But at this point, he's facing a guy that's a lot younger than him, in a lot better shape than him, and there's a legitimate chance that Arlovsky could be in trouble here, even though this is technically a exhibition boxing match. I don't know. I don't know what else it's going to take at this point for Andre to just finally hang it up and be content with his fucking career. He's already accomplished more than anyone could hope to in multiple different fucking disciplines with multiple different organizations. He holds multiple records in multiple disciplines. Like there really isn't that much left to do, and Father Time is quickly approaching to the point where he will not physically be able to keep trying to put on these circus stunt of events much longer. So I don't know. For his sake as well as for ours, I hope Andre decides to hang him up pretty soon. I would really be, the happiest, ideally, if he decides that this is his last match and he's going to, officially lay his gloves down in the squared circle after this, and he just wanted to try boxing, because it was the one thing he hadn't done, even though he did bare knuckle, which is kind of weird. But I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully Andre is done after this one, because there's not much good that can be left to be wring out of this washcloth at this point. Speaking of not much left to wring out of a washcloth, though, we got confirmation from both sides this week that November 15th, BKFC 84 going head-to-head with UFC 322, which is a bold idea, but they're going to do it anyway. Live from Palm Desert, California, BKFC 84 will now officially be featuring the debut of one Aspen Ladd taking on Cheyenne Batliff in her BKFC debut. I've said it before and I will say it again. I do not fucking understand why some of these folks who made their name in the UFC and was not from striking decide that it is in their best interest to go into striking disciplines once they are no longer in the UFC. Aspen Ladd was at no point in any time in her career known as a dangerous striker, let alone as a lethal boxer, especially one so skilled to be able to take off the gloves and be as dangerous or more so. Not like they're giving her, to their credit, the most tough opposition. She's not necessarily getting a full can layup, but it's pretty fucking close to a T-ball set. So we'll see how that plays out as well. And if Aspen can even make Ladd for this fight, because that's been her biggest battle. Not the fights she's been in, but I believe her last 4 matchups in a row have all had weight misses on Aspen Ladd's part in multiple different weight classes to boot. So we'll see how that one plays out. I almost didn't even want to talk about this one, but in the event that it does come to fruition, it is something that people should be aware of. We got official confirmation from both sides on this one as well this week. Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao are officially in negotiations to have a rematch at the Sphere in Las Vegas, summer 2026, aiming to go against the potential UFC White House card. Their first fight was years after it should have been and was not nearly as exciting as it could have been. Neither one of them have done anything since that match to make you realistically think that it needed to be run back or that it would be different or potentially better than the first matchup was. And yet, for some fucking reason, here we are. Manny and Floyd's teams have both confirmed they are in talks, they are in negotiations. They are beyond talks. They are now negotiating the fine points of the contract. So this is potentially going to happen. Maybe not necessarily going head to head with the Sphere card or with the with the White House card for the UFC. Hoping that still doesn't come to fruition, but it's not good. Speaking of not good, though, last one I've got in the news for this week. I don't understand why this keeps happening, but it keeps fucking happening. This week, unfortunately, Chama was the victim. Mark Zuckerberg has decided for whatever fucking reason that he wants to become a mixed martial artist and he wants to train with all the fucking professionals. And for whatever reason, none of these professionals can tell this rich nerd to fuck off and go learn from a fucking gym like a normal person would. And Alex went and did some training with Zuck and some sparring with Zuck, which is not good if you watch the video. And then, excuse me, the rotten cherry on this bullshit Sunday was when Poetan let Mark Zuckerberg take him down in a fucking pathetic for child standards takedown attempt. I try not to get into too much social commentary on this channel, but at this point in time, with everything going on in the world, why the fuck do we still have billionaires? If you've got that much money and you see everything going wrong, use it to do some fucking good instead of training with fucking professional martial artists for a career you're never going to move into. That transition is not open for Mark Zuckerberg. He cannot leave CEO of Meta and become a fucking UFC fighter. So take your nerd hobby to the fucking weekend like any other 40-year-old dude having a midlife fucking crisis and leave the pros to be fucking pros. Motherfucker, I hate that dude. That being said, though, that is what I've got for this week. Any of you gentlemen have anything that I might have missed in this week's news?
All I gotta say is every man's got a price.
Yeah, and Zuck seems to know everybody's fucking number, apparently. Fucker.
I mean, when you got more money than God, I guess you can kind of do whatever the fuck you want and pay off whoever you want.
Right, and yeah, it seems like Zuck has no problem slinging it the fuck around, so.
And far be it to judge Peloton for doing it, but you give me $3 million, bro, I'll let you pretend take me down all fucking day.
Anybody besides Zuck, maybe. But Zuck is one of the few people that I can tell to go get fucked and take his checkbook with him. I don't care. My fucking morality and my fucking pride is much more valuable than any fucking amount of zeros Zuck could put on a check for me. So Alex can do what the hell he wants, but Zuck can go take a flying fucking leap for all I care. That being said, that'll bring us to the point in the show where if you've been watching combat sports as long as some of us have been watching combat sports, you start to know what you like to watch and when it comes on and what the best way to watch it is. And you start to develop a set of blinders, if you will, and you start to lose the forest for the trees. Luckily for us here on the show, we've got ourselves a bona fide young person that's out there ever so diligently and ever so delicately fingering the pulse of the MMA world to help keep us abreast of all the names that are going to be names before they're even names in a little segment that we call Slow Scans and Contenders.
Appreciate you, brother. Well, I mean, there's not a ton of fucking good to be talked about with this weekend, that's for sure. Even one of the local kids I had to be honest with this week and couldn't put in an actual contender spot at this point, but we'll start with the trash, like I always do, man. You got the Cedricus Dumas situation that I still don't understand. I know we need some cans around to give us decent moments or to give guys making their debut have a decent chance, right? Like, I get it. There's always those situations you keep certain guys around so that you can have that good knockout moment or some bullshit. But this kid has been such a POS since he got in the UFC with the beating on his old lady and the breaking and entering, and just he's been arrested countless times. The kid hasn't won a single fucking fight, as far as I'm concerned. I think he maybe won his debut, but he's lost the last 3 or 4 at this point, and they still keep giving him opportunities. The young kid, Dante Johnson, 26 years old, undefeated, 6-0. I'm worried about the fact he's only had a handful of fights, maybe a little green, but I think this is that good layup situation. Like I mentioned, this is why you keep dumbass around. You know, he's going to get knocked the fuck out by the young 26-year-old who I've got as one of my contenders this week. We'll see how the kid can do in his debut. Give us that great moment, you know, destroy a piece of shit for us. Give us all something to be like, fuck yes, about this weekend. And we'll look forward to what the kid can do in the future, right? So there's the shining light after the piece of shit. So you start with the biggest piece of shit there in the trash can. Then you got Charlie Radke taking on Daniel Frunza. I mean, this one's just a rough one in general. This is 2 middle-aged guys that just aren't the greatest. Radke's had his opportunity in the UFC so far, and he's gotten his ass kicked more than he's kicked in the ass, and then we can't be having that around here. 35-year-old gets knocked the fuck out. And it's the same situation. We got a lot of that on this card. This is what Meter likes to peg as contractual obligations and things of that sort. But then there's also the questionable thing of a lot of these motherfuckers could have been cut already. Fuck your contractual obligations. You can release motherfuckers at any point in time. I'm damn certain of that. Uh, you've also got the Jeremiah Wells Thimba Garimbo fight. Now, just because The Rock liked Thimba Garimbo and the kid had a few fight winning streak at one point, but they were by decisions, doesn't mean jack shit. He's proven at this point, like he got his opportunity. He got that fight against Vicente Luque on short notice, and Vicente just schooled him up like it was nothing. And Vicente's looked bad lately. He's like 1-5 or 1-6 in his last 7. It's been bad for Vicente, getting knocked the fuck out. Anybody that's actually top 15 material, Vicente is losing to the past few years at this point. He is the gatekeeper for sure, that welterweight division, or at least one of them, because honestly, Gill's a gatekeeper too. You could say Colby Covington's bitch ass would be the gatekeeper as well if he came the fuck back. Shouldn't be in the rankings too. Like, there's a lot of those guys in that spot. Wonder Boy. But Garimbo and Wells is not a good fight. Wells is a 38-year-old that's gotten decision wins in his UFC career, and then he's lost his last 2, which was a decision to Max Griffin, and that was last February, and he hasn't fucking fought since. So it's been a year and a half since we've even seen Jeremiah Wells. So that shows you how much of a contractual obligation I think that is, that they've just iced Jeremiah Wells, or maybe he had an injury or some shit, but he hasn't been around. This is probably, hopefully, you'd think, the last fight on a contract kind of situation, but man, that's just one of them you got to throw in the garbage because it's just not going to be fun to watch. And you got a ladies' fight that I feel is going to be the same exact way. Maybe Norma opens up a can of whoop ass. We can hope. But Ketlin Vieira versus Norma Dumont, I don't see is going to be a good time. That division is so fucking rough at this point. I don't care which lady comes out on top. I don't think either one of them is going to give us an entertainment value. If they get a title shot, we're still all waiting for the potential return of Amanda. We haven't heard shit about that. So is that really going to happen? And I think she did get in the testing pool at least, right? So, I mean, so there is still that probably going to happen next year at some point, but still haven't heard any rumblings about it. But you know that's what the UFC is going to go with. So it just doesn't matter what lady comes out on top of that fight. Norma did beat the shit out of Irene Aldana in her last fight, but it's been a while since she's fought. I just don't think it's going to be worth a damn. Maybe Norma opens up a can of whoop ass, like I said, but could be a rough one. One of the roughest ones I expect. Billy Elicana versus the Kevin Christian kid. I think Christian is making the debut. Elicana in his last fight, literally one of the worst fights we've had this year. I think, who did he fight? Ebo Aslan? Am I right in that? Yeah, it was literally one of the worst fights we've had this entire year, where they just both danced around the octagon for 15 minutes, barely pitter pattered each other. It was trash. It was absolute garbage, the definition of it. So you gotta throw that in the fucking trash. And then to finish it off, Waldo. Where's Waldo at, man? Fucking Cortez Acosta, he done proved it. I knew his ass was trash. We all knew his ass was trash. He kept on winning, but he was winning by decisions. He did get a finish, in the mix of his little winning streak, but man, at least it finally got stopped. I don't think this is an opportunity for him at all. This is a quick turnaround for Ante Delija so that the UFC can have another heavyweight contender. Now, the reason that this sucks and it's pointless, both of them have admitted openly they're not going to fight each other. Him and Tom are friends. They're not going to fight each other. And then you also got the whole situation after last fucking weekend's shitstorm at the end. We don't know when the fuck Tom will get to fight again. He might have gotten Michael Bisping, for fuck's sake, and might have one eye fucked for the rest of his life because of some piece of shit. I did hear or see some rumblings that the UFC might actually be doing some serious changes on the fucking eye pokes. Or the commission. I hope so. I hope it wasn't just fuck posts that, I saw earlier today. You always see rumors online. You can't believe shit until there's actual truth to it. But yeah, I saw some fucking posts on some of the credible sites that we would normally see some of the shit that pops up being credible. And I'm like, oh, wow, that would be interesting. That apparently they've been in talks with the commission that they want to get something quick action turned around so that they can have severe penalties. Or the UFC themselves, I suppose, would be doing some sort of fines similar to another sports organization. That's what I assumed with the pretty much the higher ups have been talking about they need to do something quick about it, because I would think you're going to lose your biggest star. Like you fucked Tom Aspinall over so much over the past 2 years trying to give him that stupid John Jones fight, and then you got all these dumbass casuals since last weekend trying to say that he fucking quit in that fight. Like I didn't get to see it, right? I was at work. But I'll give him the benefit of the doubt in that. If I was in a fucking fight, right, and I'm the fucking champion, and I got my ass beat a little bit in the first round, and then I poked like you guys are showing, fucking Three Stooges shit. Like he was working me in the first round, so I need a game plan. When we need to figure something out, something's got to be fucking figured out, turn around, so that I can get a hold of this fucking shit. Quit letting this motherfucker kind of get an upper hand on me out of this first round. But then you get double fucking poked, Three Stooged. So fuck that. No, I'm not trying to continue. He's smart in that sense. Like Cyril Gahn came fucking ready. It would have been a good fucking fight. He'd do some cheap shit. Jim Miller's been pointing it out this entire fucking week. He even went on the Ariel Helwani show. 43 motherfucking fights in the UFC, and he's talked about it. Never had a single fucking eye poke. It is just some bitch made shit. Dudes do it because they, like guys have said in the MMA space for years, the journalists, right, have talked about it. Do it. They've told fighters, do it. What the rest don't do anything. So cheat. Grab the fence, poke guys in the eye, kick guys in the balls, and then you see it happen every goddamn week. Literally every week this entire year, you have had a fence grab, a nut shot, an eye poke, the whole kit and caboodle damn near every week on every single card, and the rest don't do a damn thing. They don't take a single fucking point. They continue to warn and warn and warn some more. They'll give 3 or 4 warnings, and then they'll be like, oh, this is your hard warning. And what do you do, We bitch and complain as we're watching the football games that they throw a fucking flag and it's a cheap ass foul. But at the end of the day, they're just doing their jobs. as referees. They see what looks like a foul. They call the fucking foul. They give the fucking penalty. There's a consequence for doing such, right? Like you want to be taken seriously with your $7.7 billion fucking deal. You're now a major sport. You want to bring in more fans. You got to make CBS happy now because of that situation. You got to bring in more fans. Got to quit dicking around. It's just the truth. You got to make your sport make more fucking sense. You can't be having a pay-per-view situation or a gigantic fight get ended like that because it's just kind of been allowed. And then yeah, it's been a shit situation. This fucking card shit too. The only contenders that I can talk about this weekend. Isaac Dolgarian. I mentioned our local boy, the boy from Missouri. I got him in the contender spot. He had that rough loss. I mean, he was able to bounce back from it, have a nice fucking victory. We'll see how he does this weekend, but at the same time, he's not having real tough competition here. It's an undefeated young kid, but in my opinion, he should be able to get this one done. I knew Yair Davale is what I would consider a grappler over a striker. And out of his 9 wins, he's only got the 5 finishes. So he's not really a finisher compared to Isaac. Isaac has finished every single fucking win he's had. So you get out there and do it again. We'll see, though. He's kind of that's on the fence. And then I got a fight on the fence. Cody Durden, I think he was a short notice fill in for this fight. I don't think he was originally the one supposed to fight Alan Nascimento. I could be wrong with that, but that's the fight now. Cody Durden, Nascimento. I think that could be a fun fight. That's why I got it in the contender spot. Durden normally shows up to fight. He's been back and forth his whole UFC career, but he's always stayed near that top 15 range. He's been kind of a gatekeeper of that fucking flyweight division. Nascimento has been decent since he came to the UFC. We'll see how that can go. It could be a boring fight, could be a good one. So I got that one on the fence. The contenders, I mentioned the 26-year-old Dante Johnson. I hope that middleweight knocks the shit tits out of fucking Cedricus Dumas. So I got him in that spot. Possible contender. We'll see how his future holds out. Elijah, obviously. I think he's going to get a nice fucking win over Cortez Acasa, especially if he gets that finish like he did against Tybura. He's right up there, man. It sucks. He's not going to fight Tom, so it's meaningless, but he is already going to be a heavyweight contender if he wins this weekend. I am kind of excited for I think both of the Koreans. I think they're both Korean. I could be wrong here, but the Phil Rowe versus Seok Hyun Ko fight. I'm excited for the Korean in this one more than Phil Rowe. Mainly because Phil got his ass worked in his last fight. Good on him for having that was cool as fuck, dude. Like as a fight fan, those are the moments you want to see, right? Is a dude he gets his ass beat and some fucking how at the end of the fight he actually does it. He knows he needs a finish and he gets it. Good on him. But you got your ass worked by Ange Lusa. And then I can't look past it. And he's been back and forth through his UFC career. So I kind of feel like Korean might put it on Phil here, but it could also be a decent fight. It's one of the few on the card kind of look towards. The other one is the Chang Ho Lee versus Timothy Kawamba fight. I think that bantamweight fight has potential to be exciting. Chang Ho Lee having some knockout power. Same with Kawamba. Kawamba started pretty rough, losing his first 2, but then he got that flying knee knockout in April. So maybe this is going to be a little entertaining fight between those 2 small fucks. So threw that on there. And then the main event. Main event's the only goddamn thing on It's not a main event worthy fight, though. So that's where you still got to throw the whole thing. I got to be honest here. I always try to put my positive spin on shit, but it is what like Meter said, it's a hangover. But it's the worst pay-per-view of the year, especially with how it ended and everything last weekend. It was a horrible build-up for the most part from what I looked back and saw. It was happy as hell to see the clips of Quillen Salkeld. Excited as fuck for that kid. I've talked about him since he came off the Contender Series. I've been interested in him. I haven't talked about him super highly, but then he goes and does that shit to Nasrat Hakparas. That was fucking great. Excited to see what that kid does next. That was one of the highlights of last weekend. Other than that, it's been shit, and it's going to be shit this weekend, too. We got David Onama and Steve Garcia for a main event. Now, Steve, up until Calvin Kattar, had a 5-fight knockout streak. And David has shown he's got some potential. He could beat guys in the top 15, in my opinion, but he's, in my opinion, not been active enough and not worked hard enough because he's shown some cardio issues along the way. That fight against Nate the Train, that was a fun one. But he could have and should have won that fight, and he gassed the fuck out in it. That was the biggest reason he lost against Nate. I feel like Nate's losing to Nate. He already had his chance to really work up. So this, to me, is more Steve Garcia. You got to go out there and get another fucking crazy knockout to really work your way up into contendership. So it's just weird. It's not main event worthy. Like, this would have been a cool start of a main card or the fourth or third fight, you working your way up on a good fight night. And that's why this is not a good fight night, because we do not have a good co-main event fight or a good actual true main event fight on this card. Being brutally honest, this weekend and next weekend, it's not getting any better because we got the Bonfim brothers. As much as I've tried to put a positive spin on them, I don't think it's going to be the greatest shit in the world, and I'm saying it here. Then we got Randy Brown against Gabe Bonfim, and that's the main event next weekend. Good on Randy. Like, I get respect for him, but God, I'll say the same thing again next weekend. It's going to be shit. Always try to stay positive, but if I miss the fights this weekend, I'm only watching back the entertaining ones. I cannot lie. Finishes only, and I feel like we might get 3 or 4 of them. Hope to God. Hear what you boys got to say. Well, I'm sure you agree with me this weekend. I couldn't lie.
Better question is, where did you find anything decent to talk about on here? But also, because I wanted to say
Hey,
something.
I chose like 3 things that I said something decent.
Like I said, where did you find something? I'm still looking. Like,
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, it's always shit to you until it isn't shit. I know. They need to work harder, man.
look, let's put it this
It's
way.
easy to entertain my young ass still. They need to work harder for you fucking true veteran fans here. You guys are sick and tired of this bullshit.
Well, okay, let's put it into this perspective. Yes, you're young into the MMA scene. And I say that with respect because you do follow the sport, and I give you credit for that. You're not some half-assed guy who's just coming off the couch to watch. But those of us who have been watching since the early, like when I say early, I mean like since UFC 1, when you would go and get that shit on VHS. You don't know what a VHS is. Let me explain that to you. It's a little deck. You put in a little thing. You got to pray to God somebody wound it before you actually get it. So that way you could watch it. Or otherwise you got to wait fucking 15 minutes for it to rewind. And then watch it. But anyhow, we've been watching this goddamn long. And up until COVID came, I'll say it, up until fucking COVID came, we didn't have back to back to back to back fucking weeks of garbage. There was always some fluff on cards, but that's kind of to be expected. But there was always at least 2, 3 bangers on a card prior to, even in the fucking cards that weren't pay-per-views. I mean, look at the fucking first UFC on Fox. It had a fucking heavyweight main event for a title on Fox. Can we get that shit on a fucking UFC Fight Night card? No. We're literally scraping the bottom of the fucking barrel. Case in point, The women's bantamweight division is so goddamn bad that you have Ketlin Vieira and Norma Dumont, number 3 and 4 respectively, in the women's bantamweight on the fucking prelims of a UFC fight night card. To be fair, these girls, in my opinion, should be the fucking headliner on this card because they're better than the fucking shit that we're fed. Nobody, look, I don't give a shit about David Onama. And to be honest, I still don't think Steve Garcia is that fucking good. I don't believe it. And look, I don't care what anybody says. Waldo's Cortez Acosta still sucks dick. He's a terrible fucking heavyweight. He's been getting hand-fed fucking shit that's going to make him look good. Because they want a guy that's going to come in and knock people out. No, I want a well-rounded MMA fighter. I want a well-rounded semi to give me a fucking Tom Aspinall style heavyweight. Maybe not that fast. You don't have to be that fast, but well-rounded. Even Cyril Gane's fairly well-rounded. Obviously, his ground game is fucking terrible in comparison, but still, he's much better well-rounded than Cortez Acosta by tenfold. Speaking of that, since we were talking about it earlier, the fucking eye poke, in case you didn't miss it, past the first knuckle deep into the eye, and for every one of those casual off-the-couch cocksuckers who do no follow-up or research, there are follow-ups on Tom Aspinall's YouTube channel where he's showing going to the fucking optometrist both after the fight and at home. They don't know if he's going to get his sight back. There's hope, but at the same time, like you said earlier, we could have another fucking Bisbing thing going on our hands. And to listen to Cyril Gane bitch that the fight stopped, this shit right here, this, hand wide open, is going to poke fucking eyes every goddamn time. Look, I'll say, you can go all the way back to fucking Pride. Pride had it figured out. Their gloves forced the curl. Look, if you relax your hands naturally curl. You have to be using muscles to extend your fingers like this to go into somebody's fucking eye. You're a shitbag if you're still doing that. And yes, there should be immediate repercussions. I'm talking points, disqualifications. You poke somebody in the eye where it's like that, it shouldn't have been a no contest. It shouldn't have been a disqualification. Move on to the next fucking guy because you don't know how to act right. And don't get me wrong, I don't have anything against Cyril other than the fact that he bitched about this. Because to be honest, I like him as a heavyweight. He makes the division more fun. But when you're doing shit like that, that's blatant disrespect of the rules. If you're extending your fingers outwards, unless you're trying to come underneath to sneak for a choke, this is the only time your fingers should be fucking extended. Or you're extending them to grab for an arm bar, something like that. Your hand should not be extended coming anywhere near the face. Anywhere near. I mean, not to mention, we've seen fucking elbows to the back of the fucking head in matches were allowed to continue this last weekend. Fucking blatant fence grabs. Dude, it was a shit show. Like, there's obvious blatant disrespect for the rules. And to be honest, those people need to be fucking heavily fined. To be honest, this is one of those places where I say, give the commission a little bit more power. Treat them like they do the NFL players, where we might not catch it in the moment, but after the fight, you're going to fucking pay. Because fuck you for blatantly disrespecting the rules. They go over the rules with you in the locker room beforehand. You know the rules before you step foot in the fucking cage. You know rules while you're in training, depending on where you're at, because not everybody follows the unified fucking rules. So, depending on where that fight is taking place, you know exactly what the rule set is in the area that you're fighting. when you fail to follow them and do the wrong thing, aka an eye poke, a fucking punch to the back of the head. Like, look, I get it. Punches to the back of the head and elbows to the back of the head are gonna happen, but when they're blatant and the dude face down, that's a problem. An eye poke, in my opinion, is blatant every fucking time. The only place that I can possibly, in the very slightest, is during a grappling exchange where you're jockeying for position, fucking limbs are going everywhere. And even at that point, you should be in full control of your weapons at all fucking times. It's no different than a groin strike. We've seen plenty of fucking groin strikes lately. And to be fair, they're taking points for them. Thank God for that. They need to do that shit more often. It'll get people to start thinking a little more about what they should and shouldn't be doing. Now, is that going to take some possible strikes off the books? Sure. And I'm okay with that. The ones that it's really going to take away, it's going to take the inside leg kick away, especially the high inside leg kick to the thigh, because those ones tend to end up there. You might not get a teep kick to the gut or right at the belt line anymore because that does tend to go low a lot. I'm okay with some of those going away. Find another way. That's the style of fighting this is to find another way around the rule set that is already there. I mean, we've given them the 12-6 elbow, which, to be honest, was long fucking overdue. But just like everything else, shit rulings, a shitty way to end the fucking card, and one of the biggest throwaway women's title fights I've ever seen in my fucking life. And it's not surprising it went the way that it went. I fucking said it last week. But all of that shit and then leading into a shit show that is this week's card, it makes me glad that they're doing away with, I'm air quoting for those of you just listening, the pay-per-view model. Because who wants to pay for this fucking trash? It's to the point where it's starting to look as dirty as boxing. And I don't fucking like that. So yeah, keep feeding me these fucking trash cards. Look, I get it. You need to offer people fights. We've said it before, I'll say it again. Put those fucking fights back on Facebook. Put them on YouTube. Places where nobody actually gives a shit if they're free. Because I can tell you what, you feed me cards like this next year, guess who will not be getting a subscription to Paramount Plus? This guy. I may or may not get a hold of Uncle Habib and find out how he watches his fights in Dagestan. Because that might be the fucking play. Because I have ESPN Plus right now. And to be honest, even their service is shoddy at best. But still, I was willing to pay for it. I keep getting garbage like this, and it's really making me deter on wanting to continue to pay for it. But to be fair, there might be a show that the missus might want on there, so maybe I'll get the 1 month free subscription and keep changing email addresses every fucking month for 12 months. Or until, whenever this contract is up. I think it's 4 years or something like that, 4 or 5. That means I only have to come up with like somewhere between 48 and 60 different new email addresses to continue to get a free month. Okay. It's not hard for me to make throwaway accounts that I'll never use again. I mean, there's bots for that. That's all I'm saying. But no, all right. Let me see if I can find something nice to say about this card. No, I can't. There's nothing about this card that is good to me. The best part of this card ran down all the crack of their mom's ass and under the fucking floor.
Yeah, this one is rough to put it nicely. This week and next week both are the exact reason why I call cards like this contractual obligation cards. These are the epitome of hangover cards. And it's even worse when we had such a horrible fucking pay-per-view that we're having an even worse pair of hangovers now. To be fair, 322 at MSG is shaping up to potentially be fairly good. I don't know if it's going to be good enough to save the last half of the year here, but it's shaping up to be a hell of a lot better than 321 was. The problem is 321 sucked. This card sucks. And next week's card makes this week's card look like a pay-per-view. These cards, this weekend and next weekend both, are full of all the fights that they wait till the end of the year to make. All of the important fights, for the most part, for 2025 have been made and are either in negotiations or have been booked and announced or have happened already, and those fighters are already looking onto their 2026 schedules. There is not a single fight on this card that is going to have ramifications going forward in the division, with the exception, potentially, of the co-main event. And even then, only to a certain degree, because like Christian mentioned, Ante Delija and Tom Aspinall have been training partners for years and have both said blatantly that if it comes down to it, they will absolutely Merab and Aljo the heavyweight division. That sucks, but at the same time, we also know that Tom's got 3 fights left on his contract, and both he and his father have also said once those 3 fights are done, they're not going to stay in the OC forever. They want to go to professional boxing. So it could be similar to the Aljo situation, but either way, there's potential bottlenecking at heavyweight once we get things moving a little bit more again after the fucked up thing we had to live through with last weekend. But that being said, there are still a few potentially interesting matchups on this card for me here. I agree with Christian. The Phil Rowe versus Seokyeong Ko matchup, I think that Korean's going to hand Phil Rowe his ass. Phil Rowe is so far beyond past his expiration date at this point. It really won't take a whole lot, but at the same point, he's also one of those names that people who even kind of pay attention to will faintly recognize. So I understand why the UFC still keeps him around, but realistically, I think this Korean's going to try and make a name for himself off of Phil Rowe's back, and there's a real good possibility that it could happen. I try to be a big proponent. I really, really do. I try to be a big proponent for ladies MMA because it catches a lot of shit. It catches a lot of undue shit just because there's a lot of misogynistic assholes in the MMA world, realistically. So ladies MMA absolutely, undoubtedly catches a lot more shit than it deserves because there's a lot of douchebag dudes in this world. That being said, I tried to root for Montserrat Ruiz when she got signed to the UFC. She had a couple of good fights that looked like she might really have some potential. And then the second they started putting up even journeyman level competition, not even top tier, but when they started giving her, average ranked competition, she quickly fell apart. Alice Ardoin has yet to show any glimpse of potential. She's 10-7 as a fucking professional. How you get to 10-7 and stay on the UFC roster, whether you're a man or woman, boggles my fucking brain. When you get to that 500 ranking, it should be time to really reconsider things. When you're looking at breaking even wins and losses, you're in a wrong fucking sport. Fighting is not a sport you should have anything close to the same number as wins and losses. Your wins should always be multiplications of what your losses are. I understand that not everybody's going to go undefeated. That's an unrealistic expectation, but you should not have anywhere near as many losses as you do wins. If you get to that point, you're in the wrong fucking sport. When you get to 10-7 and you're in the UFC competing at the highest level of competition, something is wrong with the formula here. With this many contender series fighters coming in for 10-10 or 12-12 contracts every fucking week for what? 25 weeks out of a 52-week fucking year that Dana White Contender Series runs? There's no reason for us to still have 10-5 and 10-7 fighters in the UFC. If you've gotten to that point, I wish you the best of luck in LFA. Have a great journey in Octagon. Go put on spectacular performances in CFL or CFFC. There are plenty of other organizations for fighters of that caliber and of that ilk to go have great, prosperous careers. But if the UFC is really going to proponent itself as the level of mixed martial arts to be compared to the NFL, the NBA, NHL, MLB, the pro level, the epitome of the top levels of sport. If the UFC is going to really contend itself as that to MMA, we have to stop keeping around journeyman fighters. That's all there is to it. We don't have a place in the UFC to build fighters if you're going to hold that top level. That's what the Ultimate Fighter's for. That's what the Contender Series is for, but that is not what the UFC roster is for. More than half of this card is either at or close to 500 on their fucking fight resumes. There's no reason for that. There's no reason we should have a fight night with that many fighters of that average ranking. Period. TJ said it best. When we used to have actual proper UFC cards, we didn't always have 4 cards a month. And nobody bitched about that. Because every fucking card you got, sure, there's going to be a slog fight on every card. I don't care what organization you are. I don't care how long you plan that fucking card out. There will always, always be at least a fight or two on every card. I don't care what discipline you're in even. That's going to be kind of meh. It's going to be the stretch your legs, go get a beer fight. There's one on every card in every fucking sport across the world. But if you're going to propose yourself to be the standard, you can't have that. That belongs somewhere else at this point. And the UFC doesn't seem to understand that message. And this weekend's card is a great representation of that, because there's every possibility that, Jeremiah Wells and Themba Gorimbo really do put out a hell of a fucking fight. But there's also every possibility that's one entertaining fight surrounded by 4 what the fuck are we really watching fights. It used to be the polar opposite. It used to be there might be a weak fight in here, but you better pay attention because these fights are all lined up for a fucking reason. We just don't have those anymore. So hopefully when we get to this Paramount Plus era starting in 2026, things will start to level out and make a little more sense. But in the meanwhile, we've still got a couple more of these cards where realistically, they both confirmed it. I agree completely. This is not a main event caliber fight. I like David Onama. I got nothing against Steve Garcia, but there is no world where realistically these two make a main event matchup, even on a fight night like we've got here. The way that the world used to work when it made sense, this would be a co-main event. Sure, no problem. This would be a premier prelim on a pay-per-view. This would be the last fight on the prelims before a pay-per-view. That would be spectacular. As far as main event goes, I don't think it's going to live up to that. There's every possibility that I am completely fucking wrong, but looking at this card and looking at the fighters on it and the way that they have it stacked, I am inclined to believe that co-main event is going to be the show stealer. I think that the main event could be interesting, but I think Ante Delija versus Salsa Boy has potential to be so much more exciting than 98% of the rest of this card that it's going to be a rough watch all the way around. And like I mentioned earlier, the problem is that we've got the exact same thing, maybe even a little bit rougher, coming up next weekend before we get to MSG. This is part of the problem with the UFC trying to just meet quotas and put on so many fucking events a year. When they have to put on so many events a year, they're not looking at the quality anymore. They are worried about the quantity because they have to meet a quota. Quotas never lead to quality, and this is a good example of that. Isaac Delgarian versus Yadier Vivali could be very interesting. Like Chris said, we love to root for the hometown folks, but I'm less inclined to believe that fight's going to be interesting. I will give it this. It is important, especially for Isaac's career. If Isaac comes out and this performance just fucking sucks, that might be the last time we see him in the UFC, realistically. But that's not the kind of stakes you want for a fight night. You want guys fighting for rankings. You want gals fighting for a shot to get into the rankings or, to get into the top 5. You want fights that fucking matter. for the division, for the fighter, and we don't have a lot of either one of those on this card. That being said, I'm a twisted fuck. I am hoping against hope that Daniel Frunza knocks Chuck Buffalo the fuck out and laughs at him so we can talk about all the stupid shit he said when he wins and point at him and laugh when he fucking loses. But I'm an evil bastard like that. So, you know, I root for weird shit like that. We'll see if it actually plays out that way. But this weekend's card's got a lot to be desired, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think we all said it pretty eloquently, you know. This weekend's gonna suck for the most part. As a fight fan, you hope it fucking shines some light on it, but man, they gotta do better than this, man. Appreciate you, boys.
Thanks, sir. Always appreciated. So that being said, that'll bring us to the point where the only segment in the show that does require its own individual disclaimer. So, if you will, Tapology.com in no way, shape, or form supports, sponsors, or endorses the I'm No Joe podcast. Yet. That being said, Tapology does give you the option to go onto their website, make yourself a free account, and make fantasy-style MMA picks like we do here on the show. They even let you make groups there, so we made one. It's called ImNoBookie, all one word, or Group 965, however you need to find it. The group is open to the public. You are encouraged and welcome. Make yourself an account, join the group, and let us know who you are so we can hold your picks accountable with our picks in a segment that we call Tapology with TJ.
Well, let's get right into this fuckery that was last week, because last week's fuckery was some bullshit. And I'm not saying it because of how badly my picks went. I'm saying just the card as a whole went 6 ways from sideways. And to be honest, knowing that, okay, let me say this. Kodasdana, you won last week. Good job. However, you should have been dead fucking last. Because that card went 6 ways from fucking Sunday. Now, with that being said, there was a fight at the bottom to see who was going to be last. And I mean, it was gut-wrenchingly close. Me and the meter, we duked it out at the bottom. He insisted I have one more shot, so I took one more shot. He had 3. I had 4 picks, correct? And so he got that bottom spot. But it was definitely double dutching with the dicks and seeing who could stump on who's the hardest. And eventually we just both gave in. It was fucking terrible week for us. To be fair, I am glad it is fucking over with, because based on the way that card ended, it all added up to why the picks were so fucking terrible. I don't think I got my first correct pick until like fight 5 or 6. It was fucking atrocious. I picked miserably last week, namely because I went the way that the fights should have went versus the way that they actually went. But you know, it is what it is. Oh, all that being stated, because Donna did win last week, she secured the #1 spot in the last week of our fall fuckery Grand Prix. Kudos to her. And then, Christian over there, slightly behind her in second place, only 400 points off the lead, so she smoked the dog piss out of everybody. I'm just putting it out there. Even with my shitty week I had last week, and I think 2 weeks prior to that, I still managed a 3rd place. I scraped it together. I think it was those couple of good wins that I had in the beginning of that Grand Prix that kept me there. Vindog holding up the 3rd spot. Surprisingly enough, Meter, even with his shit show of picks and missing a complete week of picks, squeaks out the 5th place. By how much? 10 fucking points. He beats Don by 10 fucking points, missing a whole goddamn week's worth of picks. Think about where he could have been if he would have just had that one extra week of picks. He maybe would have had 200 more points and still been in 5th place behind fucking Vinny. So, really wouldn't have mattered, is what I'm saying. He definitely wasn't fucking winning, and even with the extra fucking amount of picks. Now, with all that being said, if you are into the kicky punchies and you'd like to make, bets on the side of, hey, what do I think's going to happen? I know I'll have my neighbor over once in a while, and we'll have a little chat about who do we think's going to win the fights. You can actually lock in picks on Tapology for free, which also in turn means you can come over and join us for free, you cheapskate motherfuckers. And I'm calling you all cheapskates because if you weren't all cheapskates, you'd be a member of the Patreon, which is scrolling down below. So in the meantime, enjoy being called a bunch of cheapskate motherfuckers. If you don't want to be, join the fucking Patreon, so that way we can give you credit where credit is fucking due. And I'll stop calling you specifically a cheapskate and everyone else at that point. But then once everybody gets on board, then nobody's a cheapskate anymore, and we greatly appreciate it. And when I say cheapskate, you can get away with as low as $1 a fucking month. $1. One. Uno dollar. Itch. That's in I forget which fucking language. I only know a couple. Don't shoot me. I'm fucking American. Of course I don't know other fucking languages. We speak English here, goddammit. Yeah. So if you want to get in to group 965, ImNoBookie, however you want to find it. Make yourself an account. We'll hold yours accountable, just like we hold ours accountable, if you tell us who you are. If you don't, that's fine. But if I recognize your screen name, I will be calling you out. So if you're trying to sneaky up in here, make sure you change it to something that I'm not going to have any clue of who the fuck you are. Also, with that gives you time now to get in there and create one and get in on our next Grand Prix. Whenever that may be. It might be in week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We don't know. But it's going to happen. So you may as well come do it. Although we are getting pretty tight to the end of the year, and I don't think there's enough cards to get us through before the end of the year.
I was just going to say, I'm going to have to look at how many cards we have left because the UFC has officially finalized the schedule for the rest of 2025. Finally, took them fucking long enough now that it's the end of October, but we'll see what we've got. And if nothing else, we might just put together a couple game little fucking for fun at the end of the year. But yeah, I don't think we have time for another full one before, but we'll get something in before the end of the year. That's for sure. And then of course, once 2025 ends and 26 rolls around, we'll have something starting shortly after 26 starts so we can get our first one going to start the Paramount era.
There you go. You got it. So you'll have time. Come join us. It's free. Continue being cheapskates, listening to us for free, watching us for free, joining Tapology for fucking free, you freeloading assholes. Now, that's all we got about Tapology right now. We'll talk about that next week or the following week or whenever, when that time comes. So let's go over and skip over to the most exciting part of the evening, and I'm saying this as enthusiastically as I can about such a shit card. As a whole, they did a good job of booking the fights. They may not be exciting, but they did a good job. Damn near every fight on the card is a coin flip. Almost every goddamn one of them. Or very close to. There's only a couple that I'm going to even mention, and that's only because they're slightly close to being wider odds. And I'm going to start with back-to-backers here, and only because they have the exact same odds. A plus 220 and a minus 275. Alan Nascimento and Cody Durden. Durden is the plus 220 underdog in that, and Nascimento is a minus 275 favorite. Same exact ones here. Billy Alicana and Kevin Christensen. Christensen the plus 220. Billy is the minus 275 favorite. like I said, not super wide odds, pretty close to coin flips. Oh, look, and I forgot there was one more that has the exact same fucking odds. Isaac Dulgarian and Yadir Devaye or Deval, however the fuck he says it. Deval is sitting as a plus 220, Dulgarian and minus 275. Weird. Now, there are two that are a little bit wider on the card here, and one of those is going to be Montserrat Ruiz, and then it's Alice, what the fuck is it? Ardillian? Whatever the fuck it is, don't care. Alice is the minus 400 favorite, and Montserrat is a plus 310 underdog. Not surprising anybody there. That is the widest odd on the card as well. The other one that is a slightly bit wider, which I don't even want to mention because both of these fighters can go fucking just quit. Just stop. And one of them, namely, because he's a piece of fucking trash. So Dante Johnson, Cedricus Dumas. Dumas, a plus 300, should be a plus 12 million because he's a fucking scumbag. And Dante Johnson is a minus 375 favorite. There you go. Those are your crazy odds for this week. Like I said, everything else is pretty much fucking coin flippy. As per usual, we'll call the co-main and the main. Ugh. These don't even sound like a co-main and main event. Even on a fight night card, these are fucking bad. Ante and Waldo. Waldo a plus 110, Ante a fucking minus 135. There you go. Coin flip, moving on. Main event, Dave Onama, Steve Garcia. Garcia minus 135, Onama plus 110. Coin flip, who gives a shit? Fuck them all. This is a terrible card. If you're going to bet responsibly. Don't bet the house. If you bet the house and win, feel free to kick some money our way. We're not going to fucking turn it down, and we will thank you for your generosity. You can do so via the Patreon link that's below. Again, big fuck you to the UFC for this terrible hangover card after one of the worst drunk fucking pay-per-views I've ever seen. That should have stacked up to been a lot better than what it was.
Yeah, I've got to say, I don't like them, but I don't mind when the UFC does pay-per-views in the afternoon as long as it's a good pay-per-view. So we've got shit to talk about for the rest of the evening, or shit to go back and watch for the rest of the evening. Aside from Quillen's crazy fucking head kick, there really wasn't a whole lot to talk about after that, aside from the eye poke from hell. If you've been following the channel, you'll notice I didn't put up a single video for last weekend's fights. Part of that is because I'm experiencing some technical difficulties, as you may have noticed by the difference in sound and look now. Part of that is because literally the only fight end that I literally said out loud, that one would have gotten a video, was Quinlan's crazy fucking murderous head kick that he broke his foot during of fucking Nasrat Hakparas, which, to be fair, even he said, I had no plans of doing that. It just kind of fucking happened. So, you know, good on him for that. But yeah, that was a fucking rough one. So there are no videos from last weekend. Hopefully we get some better fights this weekend because I have some options to make some videos for the shorts, which if you're new to the channel, generally speaking, any weekend there are fights, if there's a good finish, I will try and give you over on the YouTube Shorts tab here a little, at least, picture of the finish itself and tell you what happened so you know what you missed. Last weekend didn't get any of that. Hopefully we get a couple this weekend because, like I said, I have some options, but that depends on the fights this weekend. And I admit it, I'm the first person to scream MMA math doesn't work. You cannot look at what something is on paper and expect it to be something in reality when it comes to MMA. But like TJ just mentioned, there are almost all coin flip odds dead even as far as Vegas is concerned, top to bottom on this card. And there's a reason for that. Vegas knows big odds, and Vegas still gives big odds for big fights most of the time. Pretty much every fight on this card is a fucking coin flip for a reason. Yes, I am very happy that there are fights. Some fights are still better than no fights. It's like pizza. Even when it's bad, it's better than none. But that don't mean we got to be fucking happy about it. That being said, that is what we've got for this particular episode here. But when we wrap things up around here, that is not the end of the fun, because pretty much every Thursday when there are fights to talk about, you can catch us live both here on youtube.com/@ImNoJoe and live dual streamed over to twitch.tv/ImNoJoe. Now, both of those replays will stay up as long as both platforms leave them. You can go back and watch that replay whenever you want to, but if you miss that replay on purpose, I also understand that, because we too own mirrors. For that reason, the week after we go live, we put the all audio version of the podcast up over on anchor.fm/ImNoJoe. You can get it there in your podcast consumption platform of choice, Google, Spotify, Apple, whatever you use to get podcasts. It's all free over there as well. You can get it. You don't have to see these faces. I understand. If you really like what we get up to around here, best way to help us out, like TJ mentioned, patreon.com/ImNoJoe. For as little as $1 a month, as much as you are comfortable giving, you help us do what we do around here, because realistically, it takes a lot more work than you think to put this shit show together. Helping us is greatly appreciated. And to show our appreciation for your help, first and foremost, we put your name on the end of every broadcast on this channel to let everyone know how fucking awesome you are to help us out. More than that, you get, at any level of donation on the Patreon, unrestricted access to the unaired and unairable content, all of the things that got us kicked off of OnlyFans as a podcast. And yes, we were the first podcast kicked off of OnlyFans for combat sports. All of that stuff is on the Patreon. Not to mention, we are now making Patreon exclusive Patreon exclusive content that is going up on a regular basis. We have more being shot while we speak. There is more in the works right now. There is more scheduled and queued to be put up just for the Patreon subscribers. We appreciate you guys. We try and give you a little something extra. That being said, if you like it, thumbs up, subscribe, make sure your notifications are turned on so you don't miss an episode. Because when we wrap things up here Thursday night, that isn't the end of the fun, because Friday morning, pretty much every Friday morning, this gentleman, wait, he's over there? No, he's over there. He's over there. This gentleman and his other half drop their podcast, the Slow Bacon Contemplate podcast, over there on Spreaker.com. Links to the podcast, as well as their social medias and their very own channel over on the ImNoJoe Discord server, all down below. Whether you are listening to this or you are watching it, links are in the description either way. Go click on it. Tell them how awesome they're doing.
Appreciate you, brother. Fun never fucking stops for the most part. I know the brother Golf T talked about it. He may never do one again. He might be taking a long hiatus. Life's been getting to him and he needs some rest. But he's got his own YouTube channel. You got to check that out. He has his own show. Wednesday nights, he's into the vapes. If you're into those as well, you can check some of his stuff out, learn some things, and support the brother, show him some love. All his links should be in the description as well.
Well, there you have it. The fucking cat is out of the bag. I hadn't said anything live yet, but here we are. Just as an FYI, I will be shutting down shop over there. It is going to happen probably sometime next month after Halloween is over. There will be a short video letting everyone know that there will be one final shebang, and I'll let everybody know what date that is once I pick it. But it will fall on a Wednesday, because I'm not going to... Actually, you know what? It might be a fucking Saturday show. That might be the way to go out, is just do a one more Drunk Fest Saturday show and shut her down with a fucking bang. But we'll figure that out. More to follow. Appreciate it. Now, on the other side of things, because there is going to be a whole lot of extra time in people's weeks, knowing that I won't be doing Wednesdays anymore, the meter has plenty of other things going on. Because the meter does many things, not just ImNoJoe. So if you go down Linktree/the meter does many things, or Linktree/ImNoJoe, you can go check out each and every one of the many things that the meter does do. In the meantime, if you want to get a hold of me, good fucking luck, because I don't check socials hardly ever. You can ask anybody. You better have my goddamn phone. But that note, go check out the meter. He's got a lot more shit for you than I do.
Much appreciated, sir. Yeah, even though tomorrow is Halloween, once your Halloween festivities are over, on the other channel that pertains to that stuff, is it going to work? Is it going to work? There we go. Pertains to that stuff. There is fresh content dropping this weekend. There is fresh content that just dropped the other day. There's constant stuff going up over there. So if you are into the devil's lettuce, definitely click that other link. There's plenty going on over there. Otherwise, click the first link and check out all of the other ImNoJoe stuff that we have got going on, and keep your eyes peeled for any shorts coming up to let you know about fun fight ending sequences that we get to capture. But that being said, that is all we have got for this particular episode. So once again, if you are new, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it. If you are not new, thank you for tuning in again. I know that's got to be tough on you. If you like what we get up to around here, please make sure you give us a thumbs up. Subscribe if you like it. The other side of that coin, if you didn't like it, first and foremost, what the fuck are you still doing? This deep into a podcast you didn't enjoy. Give it a thumbs down and go fuck yourself. We won't even dispute it. That being said, that's all for this episode. So until next time, boys and girls, remember, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening. How do I say goodbye to what we